Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining me on another episode of Rising Stories. Each week, I interview a business owner or author, and we have a casual conversation about how they write and how they run their businesses. My hope is that you will hear these stories and feel empowered to keep walking in your own journey. I would love it if you would share this podcast with a friend this week. You might be thinking of someone right now that needs to hear some of the stories or this particular guest on the show. Stop now and share it with them right from your iPhone. It's so simple. Right beside the episode, there are 3 dots. Click on them, and at the very bottom, click on the share episode, and from there you can send them a link to either to their text or by email. You can also share it on Twitter or Facebook. Encourage a friend today with the gift of this podcast. My guest today is Anna Lebaron. She is an author, a speaker, and book launcher. Anna writes about her life as a polygamist's daughter. Her father was said to have killed anyone who strayed from his polygamist cult. Today, Anna shares her story with us. She is also going to share with us about her new venture as a book launcher and why every author needs this service before releasing their book. Here is my conversation with Anna.
Well, I'm Anna Lebaron. I'm a mom of 5 children, and they're almost all grown. My youngest is 17, and she'll be 18 in November. So I'm planning a big party for her, but I'm also planning a party for me, since I'll be basically done with child rearing.
Yeah, that's a
She's
lot of kids.
18.
5, and you're done, and you'll be done.
And I'll be done, yes. But she still has to graduate in June.
Okay.
So I'll be throwing her a reception, but I'm going to also throw myself another party.
Okay. Do it when
June.
I can come, when I can be in Dallas.
Because, I'll be officially done once I got them all graduated from high school.
Wow. I think we need to go on a trip. Maybe we should do a trip.
I think so, too.
I think that would be good. A cruise. How about a cruise?
I would love a cruise. I've been on 2 of those, and they're amazing. And you're either a cruiser or not a cruiser. And I'm definitely a cruiser.
Yeah. We should do something. It's a long road of parenting, and you deserve that party. Absolutely.
I can see the finish line.
Yes.
It's right there. If I just keep taking steps, it'll come.
Yeah.
It'll get to me.
And are they all gone, or do some come back for a while, or college, or they come home for the summers, or?
Yeah, they're all on their own and paying their own bills.
Wow.
It's amazing.
You're going to get a raise.
I know I should.
You're actually going to get a raise because they're going to be all done and
right, because it does cost quite a bit to raise children.
Yeah.
So
and
it's
5
it's
at that.
Going to be exciting. 5 of them.
Yeah. Wow. And, so you have 5 children, and you're married, and
nope, I'm not married.
You're not married.
I've been like a single parent, but I don't even call it single parenting anymore, because when they're so grown and they can take care of themselves, you're not really doing a ton of parenting.
Yeah, because they're
so I'm just mom.
You're mom.
I'm just mom.
Yeah.
And I love it when they all come over and hang out. We do stuff together, and it's fun. We play games.
Mm-hmm.
Like Settlers of Catan. That's an awesome game. And
what is that? Settlers of
the Settlers of Catan.
Catan.
This hugely popular board game.
Wow. I don't think I've ever heard of it.
Oh my gosh. It's fun. It's a fun one.
That sounds fun.
When they all end up back at the house and they're all under the same roof, I always try to get a picture with all 5 of them and me.
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. I bet it's a noisy house when you've got them all in there.
Oh, yes. But it's awesome.
Yeah.
So I have the 5 kids. I work full time, and I'm writing a book. I have a side hustle business.
Yeah, tell me about this side hustle business, and then we are also going to talk about your book, because your book is part of your life story, which is very, very interesting. But your side hustle, what you're doing as a side job, you are a book launcher.
Well, yes, I have been launching books since I discovered that I was good at it when
Mm-hmm.
we rogue launched Jen Hatmaker's book called For the Love.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, I was a part of that. And
yes.
so for some of you all who don't know, so Jen Hatmaker had I don't know if you'd call it a contest, but it was like she
Oh,
was
it was an
looking for,
application.
it's an application. She was looking for 500 people to launch her book, and 5,000 of us applied to help her launch her book, which means if people who don't know about book launching, I mean, it's very important now as an author, you should have a book launch team. But it's someone who will get like either an advanced copy reader, or
Hmm.
well, why don't you tell us? Because you're the pro you're the pro copy reader. But anyway, I'll tell the quick story about how we became the rogue book launching team. Was that she picked 500, and then of course 4,500 of us got the reject letter and
Right.
said, or not, it wasn't much of a reject letter, but it was just like, well, sorry, but we've got our 500 and we're good. Well,
It was the
then,
sweetest rejection letter I've ever
yeah,
received.
and we're like, we will not stand for this.
Yeah.
No, we don't. We're not taking no for an answer. We're going to still help you launch your book.
Well, I think you missed a little piece of that because when I got my rejection email from her, it included 4 chapters of the book,
Mm-hmm.
which I quickly devoured and read because Jen Hatmaker is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tweeted her and basically thanked her for letting us have the 4 chapters to read in advance. And I hashtagged the 4,500 because we were, 4,500 that didn't get the acceptance email.
Right.
And she replied to my tweet and hashtagged the 4,500 again.
Okay.
So that tweet went viral on her Twitter page.
Whoa.
And then Tracy Page, who I did not know at the time, took the hashtag and created a Facebook group. And I joined that Facebook group, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started inviting people to join the group. 1,300 women,
Wow.
more than double the original launch team, joined the group. And that's when I basically said, well, we have 4 chapters to launch a book. You basically read it and then you pick out your best quotes and your favorite quotes and you post those on social media,
Mm-hmm.
along with a link to where you can buy the book. So I said to the 4,500, basically, Jen Hatmaker is not the boss of us. We can launch this book if we want to.
Right.
And all we do is go and take our favorite quotes, post them on social media, and we're a rogue launch team for her book. And we did that. But I also said that we could find the 500 that had the whole book,
Mm-hmm.
because they would be hashtagging For the Love.
Mm-hmm.
And all we would have to do is go find that hashtag, find what they had written, and then go and retweet and share and, amplify their voices. Like
Right.
share more widely what they could do than what they could do on their own. So 1,300 of us backing up the 500.
Mm-hmm.
And this book, For the Love, became the number 8 best-selling book of 2015.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So
and
that's where it started.
That was quite a ride, and I was very honored to be part of that group. It went above and beyond what anyone could ever have imagined. I
Correct.
think it launched so many friendships, and it launched
Ministries.
Oh my goodness. I mean, it's
Retreats,
which,
meetups,
yeah,
scholarships,
yeah. I mean, just
get-togethers,
helping
friendships.
people. Yeah.
We helped so many people. We did all kinds of
Adoption
good
stuff. Yeah. I mean, just
Yes.
adoption support and, helping.
It was
just
incredible.
It still is, because it's still going on. Like,
Yes,
we have
the group
not left.
still exists.
The
No,
group
we have
still
not
exists.
left.
We have not. So that's where you and I met, and I'm not on there as much, but I still know that those women are such prayer warriors
Hmm.
and connectors, and just love each other, and we love well, and that's
Yes.
been and authentically well. I would
Yes.
say authentically well.
Yeah.
We connect with each other, and I hope they're all listening
Yes.
as we're talking about them.
Hi, guys.
And you and Tracy, our fearless leaders, um, are doing great things as well. So your story, from the minute we met you and just hearing some of the things, I remember reading, I'm going to go speak at this luncheon about, how I grew up as the daughter of a polygamist.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so tell me your story about that I don't know already.
Well, I was born into and raised in a violent polygamist cult. My father was known as the Mormon Manson,
Mm,
and he would have hits, like mob style hits, ordered on people who defied him or dared to leave the group, and sometimes his rivals.
mm,
And so there's quite a few people, over 25 people, according to the research that I've done, that died as a result of him ordering their death.
wow.
And so he ended up in prison when I was a young girl. And when I was 13 years old, he had already died. He died in prison when I was 12. When I
Okay.
was 13 years old, some things happened and I ran away from home and went to live with an older sister that had not left the group because that was dangerous to just separate yourself entirely from the group.
Mm-hmm.
But she was on the fringes, and so was her husband. And they had 5 children at the time when I went to go live with them.
Mm-hmm.
And she took me in and finished raising me.
Wow.
Um, but that did not, I mean, so many things happened that were just very tragic following, even after I left the cult. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that's part of the story that I'm writing and telling is my experiences growing up as the polygamous daughter, which is the name of the book.
Mm-hmm. How
And
was,
then
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
what happened afterwards, because just because I got out did not mean that the nightmare was over.
Right.
It was very difficult, and life got a lot harder because of some things that happened in our family.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I write. That's what I'm writing about in the book. And I'm also writing about the healing journey of growing up that way, essentially fatherless, and then how I was able to come to know Christ and then heal from the devastation of growing up fatherless,
Mm.
and then making the leap to having a relationship with my Heavenly Father.
Right. Right.
So that's the premise of the book that's being written right now. It's
Wow.
coming out in March of 2017.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, before I got on the phone with you, I was on the phone with my editor.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the big middle of the edits on the book, so
So it's
it's a
just
long
fine
process.
fine tooth combing it and just kind of going through line by line and making sure everything is correct and it
Yes,
flows and all that. I have a question kind of backing up. How was he caught? How was your dad caught? And
he was arrested in Mexico.
okay.
Um, I was born in Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
and I speak fluent Spanish, so I think you know that about me already.
Yes, we have
So,
spoken. Sí, hablamos español.
sí, yo sí
Y-
hablo español.
Yeah.
And so we moved back and forth from the U.S. to Mexico while he was wanted by the law. And so it was the FBI that was after him and the Mexican police.
Mm-hmm.
I have experienced um, both being raided by the FBI, our home being raided while they're looking for my dad and other cult members that
Okay.
had committed the atrocities that he ordered.
Mm.
And I've experienced being in Mexico and having our home raided by the federales as they're
Right.
looking for my dad. Both time, both experiences. But they eventually did catch up with him. And then, just like you see in the movies, the Mexican police brought him to the Mexico-American border and handed him over to the FBI agents waiting for him on the other side.
Oh, wow. So they did turn him over.
They,
That's
they
interesting that they didn't prosecute him because how many of those 25 people did that were, died at the hands of his orders were Americans, or were they all Americans?
most were American, but some were Mexican.
Okay.
But what he was wanted for happened in the U.S.
Okay.
Um, he had been arrested previously in Mexico for some things that happened in Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
and he was tried and somehow found not guilty.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody says it's because the bribes and the judge and all this stuff happened. And I don't know the
You'll
facts,
never
and I
know.
was a little
Yeah.
girl, so
Mm-hmm.
he was transferred over to the U.S. Authorities because at the time he was wanted in the U.S. for the crimes that were committed in the U.S.
Okay. So they
So he
did
was
that.
tried and convicted, and even though he never pulled the trigger, he was convicted as the mastermind,
Wow.
and he went to federal prison and died there not too long afterwards.
Mm-hmm. And is your mom still alive?
Yes, my mom is 85 years old, and
Wow.
she is still alive, and she is still a part of a polygamist group that exists in Utah.
Okay.
And that's something that is part of her belief system that, her and I just have to agree to disagree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you still have a relationship there,
Yes, I
and
do
you
have a
have
relationship with her. As a
how?
matter of fact, when I finished writing the manuscript
Uh-huh.
and I turned it into the publisher, just the basics, how I had written it, I printed it out and got on a plane and flew to Utah and spent a week with my mom reading it to her
Wow. What did she
because she,
think?
oh my gosh, she cried a lot and I cried a lot just
Mhm.
because a lot of the things that I talk about in the book, she was unaware of.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we, it was a
Healing.
time of healing for
Mm.
both of us. I did not want her to get the book when it comes out in March
Yeah.
and read these things about my life that she was unaware of without me there
Hmm.
with her.
And y'all were able to probably process some deeper things that are not in the book, just, personal things
Yes.
that needed to be processed. And I'm
Yes.
sure that y'all both have some sort of PTSD with all the raids and all the things that were happening. And so
Yes.
being able to be there with your mom, that's just priceless. And being able to read it to her. And
Yes. That
I'm
was
sure.
that was a big moment, and um, it was huge for me to be able to do that with her and not have her read the book on her own.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And you have how many siblings? As a polygamous daughter.
Okay.
It'd be
My
interesting.
mother, my mother herself had 12 children.
12 herself.
She
Like
had 12
12.
children, and I'm number 10 of her 12 children.
Okay.
But my father, he had 50 or more, 50 that we can count,
Okay.
550, just so
Wow.
everybody knows.
That's a lot.
And those are the ones that we've been able to count. And if you're adding, stepchildren, that the women that married him that brought children
Brought.
into the marriage,
Mhm.
so then the number just goes up from there.
Yeah. And would you say that half or more or all or well not all because you're not in it but are still part of that polygamist lifestyle?
Um, Almost all of them are out of the polygamist lifestyle.
Okay. Well, I was going to
There's a
say,
few. There's a
yeah.
few that are still a part of it, and they
Hmm.
still have that as part of their belief system,
Hmm.
and but not all of them. And
Okay.
most of them are out completely.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, there's part of your book launch team
Right.
because they're definitely going to read that.
Yes.
I think they're going to read and like your mom, just process and heal from.
Yes.
They're going to be like, "Oh, that happened to me too." I can imagine. I'm just imagining
Right.
that they would connect on a deeper level than just yeah.
I hope so. That is my hope, is
Mm-hmm.
that, and these stories are stories that not even my siblings are aware of. So some of the things that happened to me is going to be news to some of them,
Mm-hmm.
and but like a few of the siblings that I was really close to and that we spent a lot of time together, then they'll be more aware of the things that happened to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that story. I want to talk a little bit more about your business and with your book launching company that you have formed, um, and and of course, back to the book, people will you'll have if they follow you on Twitter, and we'll post all that on the show notes. They can follow you as you go along. And do you have a hashtag for that book? Is it just a
It'll be hashtag the polygamist daughter.
Okay, the polygamist daughter. So we'll put that on there. But back to your book launching company. So, because I mean, I have seen several. In fact, I'm part of a writers group, and I don't know if they understand the concept of a book launch team or someone like you who is in charge of the book launch team or being a launcher.
Hmm.
Tell me from the time someone completes a book to the time that it is released, what are some things that happen in that book launching process?
Well, a book launch ideally would start about 2 months or more before the release date of the book. And what you do is you gather a team of people who agree to read the book in advance. And so you provide them with an advance reader copy, either a physical copy of the book or a digital copy. So your advanced team is reading the book. They pick out favorite quotes, and you can put those into quote graphics
Yeah, graphics forms. Mm-hmm.
along with the hashtag of the book and other ways, where you pre-order the book. And the launch team is, by design, um, the ones that are going to kind of spread the word on social media about the availability of this book and that it's available for pre-order. Um, Pre-orders are really important to authors nowadays because when you pre-order a book, the sale price, you don't get charged on your credit card until the book ships.
Right. So when you're ordering
So
on Amazon and you go, I want to buy Anna's book, I can purchase it now, but really and truly, it doesn't go. I don't really buy it until it's released.
correct. So all the pre-orders plus the first week of sales are what count towards an author's um, potential to be on any kind of bestseller list.
Okay, on all the numbers and everything.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So getting that pre advance um, activity where social media is making the book people aware of that the book is available
Mm-hmm.
and giving them opportunities to pre-order. That is what a launch team does. And so you kind of build up the momentum, you know, 2 months prior. So your team, you'll have bloggers on your team, and you release those blogs the week of the launch, right the week before, right after.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have your bloggers that will do their blogs about the book. And then the whole time you're reading, you're quote tweeting and just making it available to people to pre-order.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what an advanced team does. That's what your launch team will do. And that is the way, it's a way to harness the power of social media to get the word out about a book.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's needed. And I I'm surprised that I have. I mean, actually, I just heard about book launching when the whole Jen Hatmaker, the 4500 started. I had not heard about a book launch team before that, and I thought, sure, I'll try it. Let's see what's going on here.
Well, the
So,
only reason I joined or applied to be on Jen's book launch team is because I was in the middle of writing the book and I still did not have a book contract with a publisher.
okay,
So, in my mind, if I didn't get a book contract, I was planning to self publish.
right.
So, I began learning everything I could about the publishing business and the publishing world and just dove in with both feet and found out about book launch teams. So I thought with Jen Hatmaker posting that thing about applying for the launch team, I went, if I don't get a book contract, I'll have to self-publish and I'll need a launch team. So I'll just apply and see what happens and see what happens on a launch team so that I'm aware of this part of book launching.
Yeah.
And then it just started from there and it grew from there into this business that I'm now doing. And that story is pretty amazing too, how it came into being. And what happened was we had finished launching Jen's book in August. Well, it's October, and I was doing my quiet time one day, and like God just downloaded this thought in my head and said, start your launch team. And that was curious because I didn't have a book contract yet.
Mm-hmm.
So it was start your launch team, call it the 4500 launches, and promote other first-time authors while you're waiting for your turn.
Wow.
And then a week later, I came across Ruth Warrener's tweet about her memoir coming out in January.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tweeted her thinking she already had a launch team and that I would just join it.
And she did
I
not.
did. She did not have a launch team, but I didn't know when I tweeted her that she was my cousin.
No way.
I'm serious. I tweeted her and offered to promote her memoir because I'm writing a memoir.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, she's a first time author, so I'll help
Right.
promote her book.
And
Just
her book
like
is about a polygamist. It's got a polygamist storyline as well, right?
That's right. Her
Okay.
book is called The Sound of Gravel, and it's her story. And it's my story and her story are two sides of the same coin.
They are.
My father, the first hit he ever ordered was on his own brother, Joel. And that
Whoa.
is Ruth's dad.
Okay.
So
So
Ruth
she
was,
is your first cousin.
yes, she was 3 months old and I was
Wow.
3 years old when that hit was carried out. And that event changed the trajectory of both of our lives.
Yeah.
So that was when I found out Ruth did not have a launch team. I basically said to her, I'm your girl.
Yeah.
And I quickly formed a team and we launched her book and it became an instant New York Times bestseller.
Really? Oh my
Yes.
goodness. You've got that magic touch, girl. You know how to do it. I
So,
strongly urge any authors that are out there to go hire you because it's you know what you're doing. You've done it several times and amazing that you were able to do that. It's a
so
great book, I hear. I have not read
yes,
it, but it's on my reading list.
it's a page turner for sure. And let me just tell you, once you start reading it,
Mm-hmm.
make sure you have time
Okay.
because you're not going to want to put it down.
Okay. I'm gonna have to.
And so you don't want to have competing priorities and like, oh my gosh, I really need to go and get whatever done, but I don't want
Yeah.
to stop reading. And then you're letting your plates that are spinning like fall to the ground because you're going to finish the book.
Right. I
And
love
you're
those
not going to
books.
care that the plates are falling to the ground and crashing. You're not going to care.
Right.
You're going to just let them.
Man. And in the book does your dad come into the picture?
Oh, absolutely. Her
Wow.
family lived in fear of my father and his followers. Then he was a definite threat to all of them.
Okay, this needs to be a movie, don't you think?
I agree.
You
And
need to get
I
connected. Yeah, this needs to be a
and
movie.
I have since met Ruth.
Mm-hmm.
Before I tweeted her, her dad had 40 children and my dad was 50 children, so there's almost 100 between the two men. Neither one of anybody in our family had spoken in over 4 decades
Really?
before I
Oh,
tweeted
wow.
her.
Seriously?
So this,
Wow. To
me
each other.
tweeting her to each other, yeah, me tweeting her and promoting her book and launching her book was the first connection between our two families since that event took place.
And did it go well? I mean,
Yes. I mean, yeah, her book's a New York Times bestseller.
yeah, yeah.
We
Wow.
met and it was amazing, and she has agreed to read an advanced copy of my book
Mm-hmm.
and provide an endorsement if she likes the book, and
Wow. Well, I think
so
Jen Hatmaker should be your, you know, should do the endorsement.
well, I
Just
guess
saying.
I guess we could always ask and then see what
Of
happens.
course. We need to ask.
We
Definitely. It
definitely
needs
need to
to be a
ask.
question. Yeah.
So we'll
Question
see
to
what
ask.
happens with that.
Yeah, I definitely think she needs to write the foreword or something. Or,
Well, I've already picked the person that I would like to write the foreword,
okay.
and so we'll see. So hopefully that works out. And
Yeah.
then when you see the foreword, if it works out, then you're not going to be surprised at all.
Okay. I'm excited to read that. That is such fascinating stuff. And your story is so amazing. And the fact that you are here writing about it and launching other people, but yet at the same time, like you said, that God was saying, do this until it's your turn. And
Right.
that just says a whole lot about your character, and that's why we're friends.
Yeah.
Because that's amazing that you are helping others, and how can people get in touch with you? Is it just off of your website? Do you have a Anna Lebaron.com?
AnnaLebaron.com, ANNALEBARON,
Mm-hmm.
AnnaLebaron.com, and you can read all about what I do as a business to launch books. And
That's awesome.
I also do consulting, and if I offer a free 30-minute consultation
Mm-hmm.
on my website, so there's a way to get in touch with me for that.
That's great.
And
Yeah.
one of the things that I love doing the most is talking to authors who don't need my services yet because they're still in the process of writing their
Mm-hmm.
book.
Mm-hmm.
And I love coaching them on how to amplify their voice and grow their platform while they're writing, so
Mm-hmm.
that when they cross the finish line and they're holding that book in their hands, they already have a built-in audience that is going to be ready to buy that book.
Right. Wow.
So I love doing those coaching sessions
Mm-hmm.
for authors that are in the middle of the writing process. And what I like to talk about when I'm talking to them is sometimes people feel like building your platform is like egotistical or self-serving. But what I say is that building your platform is not about you or elevating you. All it does when you stand on a platform is allow your voice to carry to the person that's furthest away from you. So the person on the back row in a building is why they build platforms, so that the voice will carry. And so that's what a platform does on social media, is allow your voice to carry to places that you would not normally be able to reach.
That's true. Yeah.
So when God gives you a message and then you start writing that message and you're getting ready to broadcast that message to the world, you want your voice to carry as far as possible. And so I love helping authors develop and grow their platform so that when they do launch their book, they can reach the person that God intends to reach with that message.
That's a good point. Very good points. Oh, love that. Yeah. That's so true because social media, as crazy as it is and as addicting as it is, it does reach people, that you and I would not in our everyday life reach. And
Correct.
the people that you couldn't even imagine, would found you,
Right.
because of that. So, what are you reading these days? Are you
Uh,
reading something fascinating?
well, I normally read a lot of nonfiction.
Mm-hmm.
And I have shelves full of nonfiction that have changed my life. And but right now, the book that I'm like into and reading in every little little snatch of time that I can get is Beth Moore's new novel.
I heard it was good.
It is good. I'm about halfway through with it, and I'm reading it just little snatches at a time because I'm so busy.
And what's it called again? I forgot.
The Undoing of Saint Sylvanus.
Okay. I
And
knew,
I
yeah.
actually got to meet her and have her sign my book.
You
So
did
my
recently?
copy is signed. So when I have two copies actually, both of them are signed. Um, and I'm planning to give away a signed copy of her book when I finish reading it and I write a review of that on my blog.
Mm-hmm.
So people can be looking for that. But I don't know how long it's going to take me to get to that point because I'm very busy with a actual real job that pays
Right.
my bills, and then what I'm calling this little side hustle of launching books and having fun with that.
Right. So you go to work, you do your job, and then you also, in your spare time at night, on weekends, you're launching books,
Right. It's in
doing your
my spare
business.
time in the morning because my other job is an evening job. I
Okay.
work from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay.
So
So in the
so
morning,
everything
you're doing
else,
that.
that's why I'm interviewing with you right now in the
Yeah.
morning
That's awesome.
because this is when I'm available.
Yeah. So tell me what three things you're absolutely loving that you have been telling your girlfriends about. Something
Well,
fun.
Well, one is a practical thing, and that's my Oil of Olay Total Effects face cream that I've been using for about 10 years now. People look at my face and they say, "You don't look old enough to have 5 kids."
No, you don't. And it's,
And I always
I'm
talk
writing this
about it's
down. Oil of
it's
Olay,
Total Effects.
total effects.
It
Really?
says it reduces the 7 signs of aging, and oh my gosh, it does.
Like, do you think, like, does it take away like the age spots and all that?
No, that's one thing it doesn't do.
Okay.
And if you saw a picture of me, you would see I have a little age spot on my cheek because I'm almost 48 years old.
Wow. You don't look a
So
day over like 29.
I love you.
Your
I
face
love you,
is
Corrine.
gorgeous, very clear. So I'm gonna run out and get some of this because oil of Olay. Okay. Well, well,
So so that's the one thing. And then the other product that I always talk about for my hair is this Frizzies. It's called Dream Curls, and it's what I put in my hair when I'm done washing it, and it's almost dry.
dream
And that
curls.
it's for naturally curly hair. And it's the only product, and I've tried hundreds, that actually works with my hair, and I love that.
Because your
So
hair is naturally curly.
it is somewhat naturally curly.
Okay.
It
Dream curls.
it's so that's another product that I love. But the fun thing that I love right now is I bought my first pair of Converse tennis shoes
Oh.
recently. And so I'm kind of cheating a little bit by saying I'm also reading this book called Present Over Perfect
Mm-hmm.
by Shauna Niequist. And on
I
the
love
cover, she
her.
has a
Yeah.
pair of Converse. And you can see that on the picture. And if you go to my
Yes.
Instagram, I took a really cute picture of my book, me with my book and the Converse that I bought.
Uh-huh.
Because when I started reading the book, she was talking about being too practical for her own good. Well, that's not what she said. That's what I said.
Mm-hmm.
I've always said I'm too practical for my own good.
Mm-hmm.
And she talks about that in the first chapter or two.
I heard it's
And
a
I went,
great
oh
book.
my gosh, it is.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to
And so
pick that
I set that one aside to read Beth's. So sorry, Shauna. But
up.
but I went out immediately, and because I've always said buying anything that was white was impractical because it's just going to get dirty.
True. Okay.
And so as a statement of I'm going to be present over perfect, and even if I
Mm.
buy, because I've always loved white Converse, how they look when I
Yeah.
see other
They
people
always look
wearing
really
them.
cute. Yeah.
They're super cute.
Could you put
And
like that, what's that thing where it wards off those stains, like stain guard or something?
oh, I didn't bother with that.
Okay.
I read that piece, and when I saw her shoes on the front cover and I started reading the book, I was like, oh my gosh, I am way too practical, and I've wanted a pair of Converse forever. I am going to go and buy a pair. So I have been loving my white Converse.
Fun.
And they are
Yay.
getting dirty, and it's like, oh my
And it's
gosh, this is
okay.
no big deal.
Okay. And did you posted a picture on Instagram of
There's a
your
picture
Converse and your
of
book?
my Converse and the book cover. So I
Awesome.
was really clever with how I posted my picture of my book, because even though I'm not on her launch team,
Mm-hmm.
that's what you're supposed to do when you get a book and you're reading it and you love it, is you
Mm-hmm.
post it on Instagram
Yeah.
or, Twitter or
Wherever. Yeah.
wherever
Facebook.
you're
Yeah.
at. Post pictures of authors' books, because that allows people to know what you're reading
I love that.
in ways than just saying, go out and buy this book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. People want to know what other people are reading. That's so true. Well, thank you so much, Anna, for coming on and sharing your story and sharing all these great things about your new business. I can't wait to hear what happens when these worlds collide and you are finally launching your book.
Oh
And
my gosh, that's going
I
to be so awesome.
I'm just super excited for that. And I just am, I'm foreseeing that there's going to be a movie someday, because this is just, these stories are just, they're not story, they're true. They're just real and
Yeah.
amazing. And just the whole healing that has taken place because of Ruthie's book and because of your
hmm
book is just going to be so impactful.
So, can I just say one last thing to your
Yeah.
listeners?
Yeah.
If anybody wants to be on my launch team, they need to know how to review books on Goodreads and have reviewed a book on Goodreads and Amazon. So if they've done that and they want to screenshot a review of any book on Goodreads and Amazon and contact me, then I can add them to the launch team.
That's great. Yeah. And you're good at showing people what to do too, if they're not savvy,
Right,
but
right.
yeah.
But people
Awesome.
that have reviewed books on Goodreads and Amazon already are very familiar with the process, is my best guess.
Yes.
So I need people who are um, savvy with the reviewing and that
Yeah.
process and promoting books.
Wonderful. Thank you for coming on.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Wow, wasn't she great? What an amazing story and what an amazing lady. Anna's book will be out soon, so make sure you head over to Amazon and grab yourself a copy. You can find all the details on our show notes at CorrineSandiford.com under Rising Stories Podcast. Thanks again for listening. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and please head over to iTunes and leave me a comment and review. It helps others find this podcast. Music is by Ben Sound, and this podcast has been sponsored by Brentwood Life Coach. Thanks so much for listening to Rising Stories. Take care and keep rising in your own story.